My parents and my aunts and uncles have done it since I was a little girl.
I mean, this is something my grandparents started, probably their parents before them.
Oh, ever since I can remember, so it's probably, I'll be 61, so probably as long as I can remember, I would say, 50 years plus.
Well, this tradition is 58 years old just with this generation.
My parents took over, then we took over.
When my parents stopped, and it was what we call as the kids, which is our generation, I say we've been doing it between 25 and 30 years.
But over 100 years old with the Nastus family.
This is it. This is the end of a generation, end of an era here. Once we're done doing this, no, the kids aren't going to pick up on it.
What we do is we call a farm. We decide on the date. We call the farm and we order the tomatoes. About 2 days before we're ready to can the tomatoes, we pick them up and bring them. Someone orders the basil. This year it was Joe. He ordered all the basil. In the morning of, we wash the tomatoes. And then from washing, they go to where they have to be cut. And we have a cutting machine that actually has been motorized this year, and it cuts it.
Call it a tomato slicer. My mother and my aunt used to cut the tomatoes by hand. Everything was sliced on a cutting board and by a knife. And then my cousins got a hold of something called a French fry maker. And that's what that tomato slicer is, only it's been modified. Cousins decided to make that into a tomato slicer. And it stayed that way for decades. Put the tomatoes in, slice it. Put the potatoes in, slice it. Put the tomatoes in, slice it. And then the last time we made tomato sauce, which was 2 years ago, they said, Tony, put a motor on this so that we don't need two people to feed this thing. One to turn the handle, one to put the tomatoes in. So I took it back to my shop in Virginia, and I motorized it so that it runs at about 60 cycles a minute.
You remember what you said to me on Monday?
I said, if it's not here, your ass is mine.
That's not quite that. Well, Roseanne told me I better have a machine here Saturday. And there it is.
It was so efficient today that the tomato washers and the people that cut the little eyes out of the tomatoes couldn't keep up with the machine. So we processed the whole thing in about 4.5 hours.
Once that's done and we fill a pot, that pot goes on a burner. It boils for about an hour to get very soft. In the meantime, we have something called the Robo-Coup, which is like a big immersion tool that actually can start breaking it up so that they cook faster and they get soggier. After that's done, we put them through the machine.
All that is a big grinder. It just separates the skins from the juice and the pulp, and it spits out the seeds and the skins into a pan. Then we run them through again to get the best pulp. That's where we get the best, thickest pulp from. And that's it.
Put that back on the stove with fresh basil and about 2 to 3 handfuls of salt.
I like to supervise the best, so yeah, it's actually just watching the supervision is fine. The salt and basil department, yeah. The seasoning department, yeah.
And that cooks for about an hour minimum, hour and a half, and you stir it so that it constantly, that nothing will stick. After the hour and a half, we put them in a pot that we've actually made with a spout. You put the jar underneath, and those tomatoes go into the jar. They get the cap put on them, they get the ring put on them, they get tightened, the jars get wiped down, they get turned upside down, and they get put away, put in a box, and the box goes, and we just start piling the boxes, the cases, one on top of the other. We cover them with a blanket so that they cool very slowly. After about a week that they're cool, we have to open all the boxes and turn all the jars up the right side. And after that, everyone comes and takes their cases.
Why don't you just go to the store and buy the tomatoes? Why do you spend so much time?
It's just part of who we are and what we've done our whole life.
You know what? Just being with everybody. The whole thing is my favorite part, from start to finish. It's just being with everybody.
No, it's just great to be a part of this tradition for so many years. It's a great day. I look forward to it every 2 years when we can get together with the family.
It's just for the fun of it. It's tradition, you know, La Familia.
It just doesn't taste the same, and it's a family thing. It's something that it brings a lot of excitement. It brings the family close. Everybody looks forward to it. We laugh, we have a good time, we have wine, we have lunch, we sit, we play Italian songs.
I guess it's not really about the tomato sauce. It's about the family and friendships.
It's not about the tomatoes. It's not about how much you get. It's just having everybody together.
You know, spending time with friends and family. It just makes it worthwhile.
Exactly.
The tomatoes, it's just a bonus.
We started about 8 o'clock this morning, and that gets started with coffee and bagels and crumb cake and everybody saying hello and, you know, just having a good time and arriving. And we will probably go till maybe around 6 to 8 o'clock tonight.
Wow.
2 years ago, I think we did 457. Today we're shooting for about 600 jars.